that a certain man called Phil Knight is working the phones at Oregon like a telemarketer, feverishly trying to find a home for his Ducks. That doesn't mean they won't have one in the Pac-12, but what is the Pac-12 going to look like? Or does it even exist at all? It amazes me, Brandon, that Oregon and Washington aren't automatically on the list for the Big Ten, but they're not. They don't bring enough value, say, as a Notre Dame to be in that conference. Not even the Big 12, which is now kind of leaning towards geography if they expand. So I think that's interesting that a team like, or a school like Oregon, Washington are on the outside looking in.
It's been a while since we've gotten any sort of news surrounding possible realignment in college football. And when I say it's been a while, I mean it's only been about 24 hours since we've really heard any news. What's the latest with the potential Pac-12 ACC merger? Can the Pac-12 stay alive? And is the Big 12 still looking to expand? We'll be discussing all those options next. But before we get to today's video, make sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you're watching this video, odds are you love college football, and odds are you aren't subscribed to my channel. So make sure to subscribe to one of the best college football communities here on YouTube. Also, make sure to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm and helps share the video with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. So we're going to be breaking down the latest information in regards to college football realignment in today's video. All the information in today's video is courtesy of ESPN's Pete Thamel, who published an article today providing us with all the latest rumors and what he's hearing. We'll start things off with the latest surrounding the Pac-12 ACC alliance that I talked about in my video from the other day. It wasn't really an alliance, more of a loose partnership, and I think that's a better way to describe it considering what happened the last time there was a so-called alliance between conferences. According to the article, both conferences would merge and become one mega conference, which is what I was low-key hoping for because I think that would be fantastic. Instead, the leagues would keep their form. So just how creative could they get? One idea being discussed, mentioned in the article, is reportedly a 4-day in-season basketball tournament between the leagues as a way to drive up value. Now, that sounds fun and all, but what would that mean exactly for college football? The real play with this entire deal would be geography and quantity, as ESPN already owns all of the ACC rights through 2036. And they would benefit from having a strong presence on the West Coast, in particular for Saturday Night Football. Most importantly, what everyone truly loves, Pac-12 After Dark. One of the appeals to the Big Ten by going into Southern California was turning millions of television homes into the inner market, which would command a significantly higher fee for the Big Ten network. But that isn't expected to be the case for the ACC network in this arrangement, as the Pac-12 schools aren't going to be recognized as true ACC programs. Therefore, there won't be a significant financial bump by doing this. So the question at hand with all of this is just how much value would be created if these two conferences had an alliance? How much would the Pac-12 command on its own as their TV deal comes to market after the end of the 2023 season? And would schools in the ACC that are already worried about cash flow compared to the SEC and the Big Ten find enough value in this potential arrangement? According to Thamel, it's hard to find where the significant money would be. Sadly, it doesn't look like we're going to be getting that mega conference that I talked about the other day. It really is a shame because you guys came up with some really creative names for what we could potentially name that conference. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm totally here for an 11 p.m. Eastern kickoff of Clemson at Oregon State. So if that alliance doesn't happen with the Pac-12, what else could the ACC do? I know that the other day there were some rumors surrounding Florida State, Clemson, and North Carolina potentially leaving for the SEC. But all those rumors were completely false. If the number crunching on the ACC arrangement with the Pac-12 comes back underwhelming financially, which is the expectation, things could potentially go downhill. Would the ACC just be better off on their own poaching schools from a few major markets into their conference? I mean, they could add teams from the Big 12 like Cincinnati, TCU, and Houston, or they could add teams from the Pac-12 such as Washington, Oregon, Arizona State, and Colorado. Now, this would seemingly drive more revenue via more inventory, which could open up the current ACC deal and give a decent boost to the ACC schools that are currently crying poor compared to what the Big Ten and what the SEC are making. The bonus here for the ACC network would be they'd get juiced up inter-market rates thanks to the addition of high population areas that I just mentioned. As I mentioned the other day, the ACC has a binding grant of rights that they have running through 2036. So if a team wants to leave the ACC for another conference, it would be extremely difficult and very expensive. So with that being said, I don't expect any teams in the ACC to actually leave. Based on what we've read about in regards to the obstacles they'd have to overcome, it just makes no sense. At this point, it would make sense for them to just add Pac-12 or Big 12 teams, or again, form this so-called alliance with the Pac-12. Alright, so enough about the ACC. Remember that report the other day about the 4 to 6 Pac-12 teams that were on the verge of joining the Big 12? Well, what the hell happened with that? According to Pete Thamel's piece, the extent of the Big 12's conversations with Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah were overstated in the reports from earlier in the week. But there's certainly been back-channel conversations and interest by both sides. He added that the Pac-12 has basically convinced those 4 schools that are being courted by the Big 12 to slow things down and see what the numbers look like on a potential ACC partnership before they make any decision. If that proposed deal is as financially flimsy as expected, the Big 12 conversations with those 4 schools could heat back up. If one of those schools chooses to break away from the Pac-12 and commit to the Big 12, well, that could result in a domino effect, and the other schools that were being mentioned could follow suit. Man, there is a lot going on with Pac-12 teams right now. They're in talks with the ACC about potentially forming some alliance, they're in talks with the Big 12 about potentially sending half of their teams there, and they're also in talks with the Pac-12 about potentially keeping the conference together. I mean, at this point, who even knows what the remaining Pac-12 programs truly want to even do? Alright, let's get to the latest on Notre Dame. In my last video, I talked about how they want to remain independent for various reasons. They're at the top of the wish list for the Big 10, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Notre Dame still has a chance at a blockbuster television deal on its own when the NBC deal they currently have expires in 2025. And I wouldn't be shocked if they ride this out at the very least until that new deal. Let's say that Notre Dame eventually does go to the Big 10 though, they're going to need a partner to go with them. According to Pete Thamel's report, they want that partner to be Stanford. Notre Dame would need to be forced to the Big 10 by a restricted television market or by getting squeezed out of the college football playoff. So maybe there is a chance that one day they leave for the Big 10. But as of right now, it looks like that's not going to happen anytime soon. Well, there's the latest information in regards to all the conference realignment. What do you guys think is going to happen next? Do you think the Pac-12 will have half of their teams leave for the Big 12? Or do you think the so-called alliance between them and the ACC can actually happen? Let me know in the comment section down below. Before you leave, make sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you love college football, then this is definitely the place for you. Also, make sure to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm and helps share the video with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.